for September 2nd. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Jimenez. Commissioner Jimenez.
She is there.
Yeah, still shows that she's muted.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioner Jimenez, if you can hear us, if you can unmute.
You can give us sign language. I mean, even just anything.
2 thumbs up.
Commissioner Jimenez, I believe you're on mute if you can hear us. If not, you can turn on your video, and then at least you can wave so we can know that you're present.
Or her video's off too. There you go.
I can hear you guys now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hernandez. Vice Chair Hammond.
Here.
Chair Shively.
Here. So if we can have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Hammond.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 5, presentation. Seeing no presentations, we'll go to item 6, consent calendar. Any commissioners have any errors or omissions and corrections for the planning commission meetings for July 1st?
No, I didn't see any.
Commissioner Jimenez?
None. Thank you.
If we don't have any, can we have a motion for approval, please?
A motion?
Oh.
Oh, you have to say it out
Yeah,
loud.
I gotta
can't see
remember.
you.
I gotta remember you on screen.
We got we have a motion from Vice Chair Hammond, a second from Jimenez.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jimenez.
Oh,
Present?
This would be a yes or no on the motion.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. It's hard to manage. I'm trying to look at the notes for today and trying to stay in the Zoom meeting. So, yes.
Vice Chair Hammond.
yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
The vote of 3 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you. Moving to item 7A, General Plan Amendment GPA 16-05217, Zone Change 16-05218, and TTM 36647, 16-05216 is a proposal to amend the general plan and zone designation of approximately 24.1 acres located in the northwest of Ramona Expressway and Evans Road from specific plan with the GP designation and R10,000 zoning designation to 6,000 R6,000 to facilitate a 90 single-family lot subdivision with 2 letter lots A and B and a 30.7 acre borough site. Do we have any ex parte communications?
It's Commissioner Hammond. Just drove by, sat by the area, looked at it. Did you site visit?
Commissioner?
Commissioner Jimenez, I drive by there all the time. I just drove by there on Sunday.
Okay, thank you. May we have presentation, please? Yes, sir.
There you go. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, just before I start my presentation, I'd like to state for the public record that planning staff received updated engineering conditions of approval dated July 24th, 2020, and they're before you tonight. So the name of the project is Stratford Ranch Residential
Nathan,
South.
were these emailed to,
Yes, they were also emailed.
okay.
Okay. So the project is named Stratford Ranch Residential South, and the applicant is Mr. Jason Keller from Mission Pacific, who's in attendance tonight. So the project is located at the northwest corner of Evans Road and Ramona Expressway. Currently, the project site is currently vacant, and to the north is an entitled Tract Map 36647, which was approved a couple years ago, in 2017. To the west, this is the Paris Valley Storm Channel, and to the east is an existing single-family neighborhood and vacant lot. And also to the south is Ramona Expressway. Here's a street view looking north. Currently, the site is vacant, and behind there is Moreno Valley. Here's looking west. Here's looking east. And behind there is Evans Road and also the existing single-family neighborhood. Here's looking south. Now, the applicant proposes a general plan amendment to facilitate this development. Currently, this general plan designation is specific plan. And they're proposing the zone change as R6000. Also, the applicant is wanting to also do a zone change. Currently, it's R10,000, and he wants to zone to R6000, which will allow 7 units per acre. Now, some background information. I should have relabeled that. That's not proposed tract map, but tract map 36648 is the tract map that was entitled a couple years ago in late 2017. And I believe Chairman Shively and also Hammond were also here during the Planning Commission, and was later on approved by the City Council. And the tract map is actually located just south of it. And there's also a borough site, which is located south of the project site. Currently, this borough site, they will be taking some dirt from this borough site, and also they will be utilizing this dirt to elevate the pads out of the floodplain. So this is a proposed tentative tract map. The applicant is proposing to subdivide 24 acres into 90 single-family lots. And there's actually 4 points of access. 2 points of access is located along Evans Road, and 2 points of access are located along the entitled tract map, which is tract map 36648. There's also a future trail as depicted on the slide as a red line, which will continue north all the way down south, extending from there to Evans Road. Paris staff has reviewed the project, and it complies with the R6000 standards with minimum lot size, lot width, lot depth, and also lot frontage. So in conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 20-09, recommending that the City Council approve mitigated negative declaration 2339 and approve tentative tract map 36647, general plan amendment 16-05217, and zone change 16-05218. This concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Questions for staff?
See if she has them first.
Commissioner
We can't
Jimenez?
see her, so.
Commissioner Jimenez, you got questions for staff?
No, I think I'm going to wait until they have provide a little bit more information, because there was a lot of pages that I read through, and I do have a lot of questions. but I just want to make sure that
Okay.
I ask the right person.
Commissioner Hammond?
Okay. Bear with me. Few questions to staff, and I think some minor, some just more of a explanation. Number one, and this is the most minor part of the questions, on 37J of the conditions of approval, you need to put something about graffiti being 48 hours, and we're just saying there's graffiti, and it will be there, it'll be there forever. So we need to mandate that. That's a minor question for me, but graffiti for 48 hours. That's 37J, I believe it is. And once you get that one, the second one a little bit more involved. Obviously, we're talking about bike trail. We're talking, is it class 1 bike trail we're talking about, right on the trail, class 1.
That's correct.
And also on Evans Road is a class 2, a proposed class 2. Big difference.
Let's see here.
So this is part of the engineering thing. I think class 2 bike lane versus class 1 might be somewhat different. They are somewhat different.
Let me double check this here.
Yeah, Commissioner Hammond, I think the distinguishing difference is the Class 1 portion is along the Paris Valley Storm Drain Trail,
Right.
so there doesn't have to be kind of a marking just separate
Right.
from the from the car traffic. So
Right.
that's why there's the distinction between Class 1 and 1 for the
Right.
trail along the Paris Valley Storm Drain Trail versus Class 2 along the roadway. That's a distinguishing mark between the
Right.
two.
Right. I just wondered, was it, maybe I missed it, class 2 is along Evans Road proposed, right? Class 2. I know we're going to go through this with that whole committee, but it is class 2 on Evans, right?
Here.
Well, anyway, that may be something you want to look at. Okay. This is the question I had prior, and this is the question I have now, more for clarification, and bear with me. We're talking about the trail, and you may have to bring up the tentative track map on the screen. It might help if I get it too. We're talking about an entranceway, and you can't see it here, but an entranceway currently is inside the property development itself. In other words, you go inside the property, there's a cutaway, and I forget the lot numbers, I can't see them on this screen, and then you enter the bike trail through that tentative track map 36647. Currently, there is nothing along Evans Road that the public can currently get to that bike trail unless they go inside the development. The bike trail, I think, is supposed to be for everyone and opened up, so that's one of those things that needs to be clarified because it may be it's an engineering condition. I know we just got those, but we don't really specify that there would be some entranceway from Evans Road. Or people are going to want to enter from Evans Road if you're riding a bicycle along Evans Road and you're going to go west. That is the one thing they are going to want to do. They do. If it was a master plan community, it was a gated community, it was one of those, that would be understandable. But even then, we're talking about coming from Evans Road onto the trail, which ends behind that, I think it's lot 52 there, I'm not sure. But as you can see from the diagram, there really is no entrance from Evans Road. Now, I don't know if that's planned and maybe major reasons for it, but that's one of those considerations that we probably need to look at, and that's just a question that I have that, because I don't think that a person would want to who's riding a bike, and I'm probably the only person in this room that rides a bike in the city of Paris, so I'm speaking as an expert here. Okay, if I'm going to ride on that street, I don't want to be riding through a community to go through a bike trail inside the community. So if there's a way, maybe we can discuss that, or maybe I don't know if that's something that would have to be changed, or that's a future plan, or we kind of leave it open for discussion. It's not something that stops the project here, just something that I happen to know, and I said, wait a minute. if you're going to have a bike trail along Evans Road going south, you're going to want to get to that bike trail. How else would you access it? Especially if you're talking about the bike trail on the western portion of the property, the trail goes up to Merino Valley. Obviously, the Merino Valley, that's another LaSalle Street. I've been over there, and then the fence for the school and all the other things. But if I'm accessing it from the street, there's just no way to get to it. So that's one of those things that I think is one of those considerations. if is something, if you have a answer to that one or some futuristic plan, I think you've already discussed it, but if there's something you can discuss now, this is more the city issue, because obviously the city's not going to be by itself doing this. It's not going to be a city trail, you know. But how would that work if there's no access from Evans Road, or is there the possibility of that?
So currently, Commissioner Hammond, this future trail that's shown on the slide is required per the Paris Trail Master Plan,
Right.
which is a Class 1 bike lane.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see per the slide, the red line indicates the Class 1 bike lane,
Yeah.
and it will end up to Evans Road. And then from there, you know, they're going to have a combination of a sidewalk and also a DG trail, all the way down to Ramona Expressway.
But on the map, you can see that it stops, and it doesn't show that there's a clearance, another opening to get to Evans Road. So if you look at the bottom portion of this map, if I'm coming down south on Evans Road, how do I access that bike trail? Because you can see there's landscaping there, there's like a fence there, and it does not show a clear path all the way to the street unless it's just not showing on the map.
Yeah, the trail should connect to Evans Road. If we need to clarify that, we can just clarify in the condition, but the intent is to connect it to Evans Road to Ramona Expressway.
Right.
And so we can just add a clarification in the planning or engineering conditions of approval for that purpose. But the intent is for it to be open and connect to Evans.
Okay. So would we need to add that to the engineering condition, or would that be a condition of approval if you were going to do that?
We can make it a conditions of approval unless engineering is so.
Stuart McKibben, city engineer. I'd recommend that it go to the planning conditions rather than engineering. Our condition about the trails only to talk about it being within that basin's lot. Usually the trails are separate lots, and we just wanted to point that out. Right.
Okay, we'll just add it to the last planning condition that there will be a connection to an Evans Road bicycle trail.
Okay.
And we can even classify as a class 2, but I'll check our trails master plan at the moment.
Okay.
We also have an active transportation plan, and that might possibly upgrade the trail, but we'll sort that out if you give us the flexibility for that.
Yeah.
Is not the bike trail part of Lot A?
Well, it's attached to the basin.
Yeah, there should be a lot between what we call the borrow site and then the detention basin / property boundary. There's a trail that connects to Evans Road. At this point, we're just trying to clarify the connection to Evans Road.
See, I'm assuming there would be a sidewalk there. Naturally, you're going to have them have a sidewalk. But that changes a few things, because if there's a fence there, or gate there, or a solid structure, it would have to be changed to allow access from Evans Road by bike. So that means you're going to have to, if you have the wrought iron fence and all that on the left side, but there's nothing there, it's just really a question, not just security, lighting, all, but it's just a question of getting in from Evans Road there in a safe way, manner, not to affect that lot that's there, that property that's there. But how would we do that? Because you have a 20-foot wall behind that person's property, and they're not going to like that. So this is one of those things that work out. But I'm just wondering that, because I'm very meticulous about that, is how that would happen if you're going to have that trail go through that property. Now, unless you were pointing everyone up north to the other track, and everyone has to go through that track, but people are going to want to go from riding a bike from that track through the trail. And so I'm just trying to figure out what is the best, and you'll figure it out. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we just may need to add number 49, I guess, to the condition of approval, and the wording, if my commissioners, I'll go along with it. But I mean, if it's going to be that kind of bike trail that we want to access, then you want to make it as accessible as possible to everyone. And I don't think you want to go through sidewinding streets to go through and to try to find it inside the development. I don't think anybody wants to do that.
We got it, and
Okay.
I did look at our trails master plan, and it is a class 2 along Evans Road, so that's
Yeah,
the
that's what I
striping of the
thought.
street.
That's what I thought. Okay. One of the things that we talked about, sorry if you can't hear me, one of the things we talked about in prior projects was the idea of, if you're crossing, getting away from that fence down Evans Road, because in Moreno Valley, and I really don't care what they do, obviously people were stopping and they were running and jumping across the fence. Now, obviously, if you're going south in Parish, you're not going to put a fence in the middle of the street. But what do you call them? I'll ask the engineers. You have those yellow. I always like those yellow lights in the street, and you have the flashing yellow lights. So crosswalk. I don't know if that was 42C. I'm not sure which one that was. A4 COE A4. I think you were talking. It may have been changed now. It's been changed. But improvements, would that include, if you're going to have a crosswalk, would that include those type of things or consideration? It is a cost. But if you're going to cross the street there, do you just want them just taking their chance and getting across? Or if there's going to be a crosswalk at all, then I think every crosswalk, especially when there's a school up north.
Yeah, Commissioner Hammond, typically the flashing signs that, they have the little LEDs that go around the outside of the
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah.
Those are typically at mid-block.
Right.
They're not at signals.
Right.
The way I'm understanding this tract is that all the crosswalks are at the signals. So you won't have those signs. You'll have something better. You'll have a traffic signal.
Okay, so there is a signal proposed, and I forget this. There's no street names, obviously, in this side, but the other side, the connection, Mariposa or
Arbella.
that would be a traffic signal, I'm assuming. Okay, so hopefully that's where people would cross. But there would still be a crosswalk to get the regular crosswalk through the signal, the lighting. Okay. My concern was, it's not that bad an issue because up north that's a whole different issue, that school up north. Because Valverde is just running on, jumping over the fence, and it's a mess. And I think we did condition it to have lights in the ground when Habib was here. I don't know if they ever did it. Yeah. It's the mid-block more the concern. That's the main thing. Okay. If there's a traffic signal, I think I see where the traffic signal would go. Whatever the street is called. Yeah. Yeah.
There's several traffic signals along Evans, and they have crosswalks there. And then also the city of Moville is going to be building a trail across Evans Road,
Right.
just on their side of
Right.
the jurisdictional boundary.
Okay. Okay. That kind of answers that one then. Okay. 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 I'm good for now. I think I'm okay for now. I did like the concept of, I think I saw it in a wayfinding kiosk was brought up also along the trail, and I think that's a good concept. Maybe one of those things when we start talking about the bike trail and those paths, it's unique, but that would be something. But other than that, I'm good. That was the main issue, and I think just to work out that issue about getting to the bike trail is an issue. And you're trying to encourage people, not because I'm on the commission, we're trying to encourage people to ride bikes, and you want to do that so you want to make it easy as possible and not disrupt residents who will scream if they see all these people coming through their communities just to get to the trail. So I'm forewarning you, right? Okay.
Nathan, I have a question for you. Between Tentative Tract Map 33648 and 36647, is there actually a separation of land that is, it's hard, you can't really see it. Is there, that's actually a dedication for
The
bike
basin.
path, or is that,
Yeah, so if we look at this slide, it's oriented north to the right-hand side. So if we look at the left-hand part of the slide, we'll see the southerly portion of track map 36648. That area is actually just a basin, which will be gated. There will be no public access to that basin.
and this is the portion on the left-hand side of the map, of the slide, is that a basin as well?
Yes, it is.
Could you go back to that picture? I don't mean to, is he saying that section in black with a white strip in the middle? From the picture? You're saying, what is that? That's just a street, right?
Let's see here.
That's,
This is a Tentative Tract Map 36648.
Yeah, that's the map that's north of the
Right.
project site we're discussing. So
Okay.
Commissioner Shively asked, what's what's that area that's separating this track map?
Right.
So it is a basin.
Okay.
And there is a point of access to the future trail there for, residents to use that trail.
Would that trail doesn't go all the way through the property and actually stops at the first street, right?
That's correct.
So it doesn't connect at all to that small basin in that corner, in that part of the property.
That is correct.
But so there are, looking at this southerly tract map, 36648, and then the northerly portion of 36647, those three lots are adjoined together. And it's the one residence on the northeast side is not a standalone.
Commissioner Shively, are you referring to the circle that's located left of the slide, that parcel?
If go all the way down to the opposite side of that yellow oval.
Okay, let me.
There's
go
two units there, and then there's one on 647. If you look on the top right-hand side, that joins to those other two, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not a standalone. All right.
Exactly. It doesn't cul-de-sac. It just continues through the other track to the north.
So in reality, even though there's 4 axes to this parcel, there's only 2 axes along Evans Road for these 90 units.
That's correct.
Okay. And then there is, at this time, on the southerly portion of the entrance along Evans Road, is that anticipated to align with a feature tract on the opposite side of Evans?
As of right now, we don't have any development proposed on the other opposite side. It's just a right in, right out for right now. But the entrance on Evans Road, the northerly entrance, that one is actually aligned to Marbella Court,
Correct.
which is going to be signalized.
So my question is it going to be signalized in the future if it does align? And there looks like, looking at the zone change exhibit, that there are some parcels on the opposite side of Evans Road that may align with that tract, that entrance.
Real quickly, Commissioner Shively, the property owner, before you tonight, is also the owner of the vacant lot to the east side of the site.
Yes.
And so they currently have some preliminary application in the city, and we will kind of address that at some future point when that project happens. We'll work at aligning that and figuring out with engineering whether a signal makes sense at that location at some future date. But at this point, just want to let you know preliminarily that there's something in the process, and we'll have to coordinate that out at a future date.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hammond, you have any other
Oh,
questions?
no, I'm good.
Commissioner Jimenez, do you have any further questions for staff?
Yes, 2 things. First one is I found a typo on 42B. It says you should have tree or thee. You should have thee instead of 3 trees. I think it was page 28.
Thank you so much.
Also, just traveling that route a lot because I have to head up that way and back down every day when I drop off my daughter at that high school. I am really concerned about there being only 2 exits for all those houses. I also noticed that one of the conditions that they recommend is that the police manage kind of the flow. That would be one of the deterrents for accidents. I will let you know, and it says no parking except for residents in the adjacent tracks. I will let you know when they have football games, people park anywhere and everywhere, and people walk all the way from the furthest street. And I'm really, really worried about the traffic. The most recent study for the high school traffic was done in 2009. I know the demographics and population has changed a lot since then. So I was a little bit concerned that the data that you were referring to is not more current. I like that there's going to be a signal at Markham. We were actually in a really bad car accident on Ramona and Evans just because of the speeding. So I think that will deter some of that, which made me happy. But I am very, very concerned with the amount of traffic that is going to be happening. The time it's going to take me already just to get up there and back when it's raining, there's a lot of flooding. I think that this will alleviate some of that, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I wish there would have been a more current traffic study. I know it's almost impossible to have more entrances or access to that community. It doesn't seem very safe to be stuck way in the back and you only have 2 entrances in case of an emergency evacuation or anything else. But those are my main concerns, just living in the community, having to access that road very many times. There's teachers that work at my site that pay to use the lakes just to cross through, just to avoid that street already. So having more homes there, it's going to increase. And then I saw you're going to reduce the street size to 11 feet as a deterrent. From what I've seen, I don't think that would deter. My street is a lot smaller than that, and people still are racing depending on the time. So those are my main concerns. Just if you would do more recent traffic studies and analysis when you're doing these kind of presentations, because demographics and things change very quickly. I notice it now, mostly. I don't think I would have noticed it if I didn't travel that road every morning and every afternoon and have to go to the football games and have to go to the band practices and stuff. Doesn't matter the time, it's always busy, it's always packed. The school's not equipped for traffic, so when you're heading up or down, there is no way to turn in without stopping everybody. People just pull over. So those are just a few of my concerns. These kids that are going to be living here are going to be going to that high school. That crosswalk, we've all been there when we're trying to get up, and high school students walk like sloths across the street. So even if there's a light, it's really not going to make a difference. They're not going to rush for you. So I guess my question at the end of all that is, I really want to know what considerations were done, the city engineer, what he looked at, and if there's any real study that's more current about what really the impact is going to be with adopting these measures.
So we would like to refer that question to the city engineer.
Thank you.
I can just share the background that I do know before engineering answers. There's a tract that's approved to the north that's about 270 single-family homes. There's 2 access points for that tract out to Evans Road. And I don't recall all the requirements, but that was a big concern when that tract went through. It was, I think the project was tabled for a little bit of time to address the traffic issues for that tract. I think the applicant might be better aware of what was the ultimate requirement, but there might be some signal requirements for the tract that's connected to the north. So when there's 2 access to this tract, just be aware that this connects to the tract to the north, and there's 2 other access points on the north side. And I can't elaborate right now what's required on the north side, but I know for this site, I believe engineering required a signal for one of the entranceways. So I just want to give that quick background before the applicant or the city engineer can answer it. I know that our city engineer currently today was not around when this track was approved a little over 2 years ago. So they might need a little time to kind of do that research for you.
I'm going to take that offer and run with it. Yeah, I don't know I didn't review the traffic study, so I don't know, and John didn't review it either. So we don't know what is in the traffic study. But Scott may know, because Scott was here. He's always here.
Yeah, maybe after we ask staff comments, and we can bring that question back to the applicant and their city engineer, or their engineer, I'm sorry.
For
Yes,
discussion.
if you could. Commissioner Jimenez, do you have any further questions for staff?
No, that was my only main question and concern is just the traffic flow, student safety. They're gonna, I mean, I noticed that in 2009, that was a big issue with them jaywalking. I think that may still be a concern, and now it's gonna be removed further south unless there is something in place to deter it.
Thank you. Hammond?
Yeah, one of the, and Elizabeth is right. I think too, though, one of the things that kind of mitigate is the traffic signals at the intersections. If you had a straight flow through there nonstop, it'd be one thing because there are traffic signals at those two intersections. And I don't know if currently, I don't think on the east side there is one traffic signal. I'm not sure in all the streets, but it's right in, right out. But the traffic signals are there, I think. And I like the Web Associates. Pedestrian crossings and things of that nature. And that's why I brought up that issue about in the street. But I think the traffic signals is probably one of the few things that help mitigate it. Doesn't mean people are going to slow down. It's just at least that's a mitigating factor as you have traffic signals. Now, whether the parents or kids abide by it, that's a whole nother ballgame. But that's probably what they were thinking by putting those there. But I was here back 2005. What are you talking about? But that street on the left side, I think the idea of two, was the minimum amount was required, was two exit entrances. So when they did the very minimum amount, you could always do more, but I think it was because it met the minimum standard, it meets the minimum standard, that's why you had two exits in and out. More residents, I mean, this was 10,000, was going to be as many residents. So now you went to 6,000, so still not a super large number, but I think that's a consideration. Because it's it's on Ramona and Evans is really traveled. I mean, wow. But anyway, Web Associates did have a good transport. It is right; it should always be updated. But you know, that's a consideration, something to look into. Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you. If we can open up public comments for item 7A, and if the applicant wishes to make a presentation this time.
Good evening, members of the commission. I'm Jason Keller with Mission Pacific Land Company, the applicant for the project. Thank you for hearing our project tonight. This is one we've been working on for quite some time. We're very excited about it. And I want to also thank staff for their efforts in getting us to where we are here today. One thing I just wanted to point out, we've heard a lot about the 36648 project to the north. We've been working on that and getting those all those plans and maps ready for recordation, and there's been a lot of interest from the builders for that. So that's a project we're hoping will be starting here very soon. So we're very excited about that. I'll open up the questions regarding the traffic and the signalizations on Evans Road to our civil engineer who worked closely with staff. And most of that work was done in conjunction with the 4.8 map. So this was all looked at holistically together. So there was kind of a master plan in terms of how the traffic was going to be dealt with. So I'll let him answer the specific questions and address kind of what the proposal is to deal with traffic on Evans Road.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll defer those if the commission wants to. Good evening, Commissioners. Scott Hildebrandt with Albert A. Webb Associates. We are the engineering consultant on behalf of Stratford Ranch. There was a question raised. There's actually a couple of questions, and I'll get to Commissioner Hammond's question about bicycle lanes here at the end. The question raised regarding traffic is actually one that's been studied at depth. This particular project, when it first came forward, this actually came forward before the 4.8 tract, the one to the north, came forward. There was a concern raised by the city engineer at that time, along with planning, as to the overall issue of safety on Evans Road. So the agreement was at that point in time is that we would take a holistic look at traffic on Evans. And we engaged not only the City of Paris city engineer, we also engaged the City of Paris's traffic engineer. We had participation from the City of Moreno Valley's city engineer and the City of Moreno Valley's traffic engineer, along with Webb Associates. There was a a fairly comprehensive review done. We did take into account the questions of existing traffic, future traffic, speed, what happens when there are football games or when there are school drop-off, school pickup. We took a look at the existing traffic problems for the existing tracks that are on the east side of Evans Road. We took a look at the fact that during those drop-off and pickup times, traffic tends to migrate into those existing developments. So there was a fairly comprehensive study done that looked at all of that and then also took into account the proposed development not only of the 4-6 track, or sorry, the 4-8 track, but for the 4-7 track and the future build out of the, thanks Nathan, and the future build out of those undeveloped properties on the east side. Thanks, he's helping me with slides. And the future build out of those vacant properties on the east side of Evans, just north of Ramona Expressway. So we looked at a comprehensive study that took into account traffic signal placement, took into account crosswalks, took into account safety for students and pedestrians that would tend to make mid-block crossings of the road. So we took all that into account, plus, as I said, we engaged Moreno Valley. And with that, we developed a comprehensive traffic calming program for Evans Road, which included, as I said, not only the placement of traffic signals at key locations that one would not cause a bottleneck of traffic, but also would calm the traffic from a speed standpoint. Then we took a look at how do we get the kids from one side of the street to the other side of the street. Working with Moreno Valley, we came up with the pedestrian crossing that was conditioned on the 4-8 track. So you will have a actual mid-block signalized pedestrian crossing in Moreno Valley. So recognizing that, that was great, we still needed to look at speed on Evans Road. So we looked at reducing the overall width of Evans Road, which would then, while it adds more volume into the remaining lanes, it tends to slow traffic down. So these were all the techniques and devices that we use to slow traffic down. But still at the end of all of that, there still had to be enforcement. So we recognize that drivers are what drivers are, and until you start putting enforcement out there, drivers will not adjust. So the discussions were held with Moreno Valley and with Paris about having enforcement as these improvements come online so that the drivers out there could understand that, look, you're not going to be able to park in certain neighborhoods. We are going to enforce speed limit. The idea of students or pedestrians jaywalking would then be ticketed. So it had to be a comprehensive program. And that's what was done, and that was what was agreed upon with the approval of the 4-8 track, which was not that long ago. So when the 4-7 track, when the 4-7 track was restarted, and the 4-7 track was delayed until this comprehensive study was done as part of the 4-8 track. So now that the 4-8 track was approved and this overall study was done, there was now phasing of these improvements that were conditioned upon each development. So the 4-8 track was conditioned to implement a certain portion of it, and the 4-7 track will be conditioned to implement the next portion of it. Ultimately, when the folks up at the state do their improvements to the Lake Paris Dam and outlet, then that last little bit at the intersection of Evans Road and Ramona Expressway can be completed. But with the implementation of the 4-7 track and the 4-8 track, you will have all the rest of the improvements and traffic calming measures implemented at that time. Then there was another question, and I'll be happy to answer any questions on traffic. There was a question raised by Commissioner Hammond regarding connectivity of the Evans Road Class 2 bike lane with the Paris Valley Storm Drain Class 1 bike lane. And while, yes, there are connections that can be used internally within the tracks to get to the PVSD trail. There is also on the Barrow site, there's access along the Barrow site, the northerly portion of the Barrow site property that will give connectivity. Thanks, Nathan. That'll give connectivity from Evans to the Paris Valley Channel. So we'll work with staff during final design to make sure that that is more clearly reflected, but we believe it was shown on the tentative map. Any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Good.
That was, my concern was on, if you look at Tentative Tract 36647, it doesn't show the connection. So would that track map need to be changed to show that there's a connection between Evans Road and into the channel? Because right now it stops. And there's just a landscaping berm or whatever that happens to be there. So that may be an engineering issue, maybe a planning issue, but to connect them, it need to show that it connects them. So right now, there's just a line. If you look at this map that is showing now, there's nothing to show the connectivity.
So that connection's actually within the Barrow site area.
Right, but I mean
south.
to Evans Road.
Correct.
That
And so, yes,
sidewalk.
so if we need a driveway into
Yeah.
Evans Road, absolutely.
Right,
We will
that's the
make
main
sure
thing.
with final engineering that that's accommodated.
Okay.
Yeah, we can accommodate by adding that condition 46 that you referenced, so that will clearly
Right,
make
that
that
was the main thing.
reference.
Thank you.
I think one of the things too, in working with Moreno Valley, as much as I hate to do that, but working with Moreno Valley, I know I'm a parasite. The schools, Office of Traffic Safety is another good program. I worked in LA. Office of Traffic Safety went to the schools and said, this is what's the rule, and they had the police right there. That gets it done. Because the police said, I'm standing right next to the Office of Traffic Safety people at LA City. I'm going to be there enforcing. That stopped it. Police standing there did it. So the idea is that they get educated, the residents get educated, even the school zones. They have to be, I know that's a state thing, but if you're going to have a school zone that stops the Moreno Valley border, but people, like she's saying, football games, things of that sort, to understand that maybe it extends down, there's signage that's saying you're approaching a school zone. Those are other immediate issues that could happen. That's more of an esoteric thing, but that could be done. And I understand what she's saying. She lives in that area. But the idea is that drivers are drivers, like you say. Unless you're standing there all 24 hours, 7 days, they're going to drive. But what we can do, because there's a school there, and these students will probably be going to that school, I'm assuming, then it becomes a necessity that the tendency is to want to cross the street, irrespective of the signals. They want to do mid-cross. I like what the Web Associates, I think, talked about all the different designs, mid-block, things that you could do, cutouts. But I still like the lights in the street as the number one. I started pushing that in LA, and it worked out better than anything else because you push the button and then you see the lights flashing, night or day. That slowed the people down in LA. And there's more people in LA than here. So those are things that would be number one priority, is in the street. Then you start talking about the mid-block, because if you have landscaping and thing that's too high, you're not going to see that person at night unless they're wearing reflective clothing. Kids aren't going to do that. Okay, so there's things that can be built in. I think you already have it. I think that the web presentation was very good, and I think that explained the different variations. So I have no problem with that. And I think that's more to cover our commissioner's point of widening or not widening the street. But I think those are things that could be done without having to change the plan. But essentially, those are just some safety issues that the city would consider, and that would help out, because obviously this is down the street from the school, unless there's a plan to build another school, which I don't think there is. So they're going to be going to Valverde, and that's a consideration. We know about Moreno Valley. I know about that. I've seen them jumping over the fence. You just not. I mean, unless you have a police person standing there, there's not much you can do. Somebody will get hit. That's when it stops. But people, they last minute, boom, boom. That's just inevitable. So I appreciate it. It's a very good presentation, and I think the signalization, I think, kind of solves a lot of that in the middle of the street. So I appreciate the presentation. I have no problems other than that. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Commissioner Hammond, you have sparked my recollection to that conversation, and I seem to remember us having this conversation a while back on this particular topic. So you're right. So there were a number of other measures that were implemented, keeping the vegetation at a certain height, so it allows motorists to see what's going on, not
Right.
being blocked by the vegetation, but yet the vegetation acting as a soft barrier
Right.
to deter the pedestrians, the students, from
Right.
making mid-block crossings where we don't want them to make mid-block crossings. And
Mm-hmm.
the location of that pedestrian crossing in Merino Valley was based on looking at where the bulk of the kids come and
Right.
go, and that was probably the best spot to put it based on those studies. So
Right.
yes, it was a very comprehensive study that was engaged by the Paris City Engineer, the Paris Traffic Engineer, the Merino Valley City Engineer, and the Merino Valley Traffic Engineer along with us. So it was studied in detail.
Okay.
Commissioner Jimenez, were you satisfied with response?
I am. I think, just I want to make sure all the kids are safe. People can get to where they need to go as quickly as possible. And, I've been at football games, and the district has a police department, and the kids are congregating. Just getting them out of that football game is horrendous. So I want to make sure that we have kids as safe as possible. I like I really appreciate that light coming in, because I think that's really going to slow traffic down. So by the time they get to Ramona, they won't be going as fast as they are going now. So I think that'll make a huge, huge difference coming southbound. So no, he answered all my questions. Do you remember when that study was done, though? When that comprehensive study was done?
It was probably approved, well, it was approved with the approval of the tentative map for the 4-8 track, probably within the last few years at the most.
2017.
2016? Okay, I think 2016 is
So
when it was
fairly
started,
recent.
but then the city formally approved it
Okay,
at
perfect.
the city council approval of the tentative map. That's when it was officially approved.
I know that the concentration of students at that high school has decreased when the district built a new high school, Orange Vista. So they got rid of the portables recently. So I know population has gone down some. So I don't foresee an extra 100 houses or plus the other tracks making that big of an impact. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
No, sir. This time, any member of public wishing to speak on this matter may do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it to the planning commission for discussion. Commissioner Hammond?
Yeah, I wasn't ready to go first. Yeah, the presentation, I think it's inevitable to go from 10,000 square feet to, that's 1980s and maybe 70s zoning. And since I was part of the zoning changes, I'm the only person here we had a real fight. But our 10,000 is maybe for Mead Valley and some of those areas with horses, but it's not going to do it in the market today. And I like the idea that it goes to 6,000 is realistic. I'm not sure how much the state likes that because they tend to like density. But I think the idea is a well-made plan. I just think the safety things that we will incorporate, if they're incorporated, would help. And I think, as Commissioner Menes has talked about, brings in that point of view by living in the area. And you drive to the area when you have kids, and, they're just, kids are kids. You have to have some, they're going to do what they're going to do, parents are going to do what they're going to do. But you try to maintain some, to mitigate that with traffic signals, and I think that was one of the key issues for this. My only caveat, and this is more the bike trails, I think we have to watch the classification of bike trails. I hate risking my life to ride a bike in the city. Okay, it really is a pet peeve. But streets like Evans Road, which south I'll go on, Ryder, that area, I ride all the way from A Street all the way over to Lake Paris. Okay, at my age. But I do that on the Avalon Parkway, beautiful area. Main Street, Paris, no bike lanes, it's a death trap. Evans Road is a death trap. It's not really a bike lane. I'm concerned about class 2 and not class 4. I like separation. It's very expensive, but when you have separation and you don't have to worry about somebody running over, And you have to wear right gear and helmets, but I mean, still, you have a very limited separation. So you got to watch the classifications of bike trails. There's one thing on the going up and down Class 1 by the Paris Storm. That's not a problem because there's no trucks. When you're going down Evans Road, nobody goes on Ramona unless you're crazy. But going down Evans Road and some of these streets, you gotta watch these classifications where all of this is a stripe. That can be very dangerous. And you want people to ride bikes. You want people to ride motorbikes. You want people to have fun and even go to Lake Paris area. I ain't sending my kids on Evans Road unless it's safe, and I wouldn't. But and I'm an adult ride and I follow safety rules. It's still difficult, guys. So it's one of those things where the separation thing for me is Class 4. That's my personal, not on this project. But when you have Class 2, when it's just a line, and there's no real barriers on main thoroughfares I'm talking about, it could become an issue. So that's just a futuristic issue. I think it'll be worked out because I trust staff all the time. I trust staff will work out that little connection. That's a minor point. Also, if they're going in from the internally going into the trail, just opening the fence, yeah, but you have two houses on each side, so you got to watch that. So if you're going from the street and going to the trail, you got to make sure that's well lit, and there's some safety issues about that. See, I just lived here long enough to know better. Okay, so if you're gonna have a trail mid-block, right, and you're gonna go opening up that little section between the two tracks, the two homes there, and you're gonna go from there to the trail, you may want some lighting or something there that's going to protect residents. I just tell it's going to happen because people are going to be wanting to ride bikes all different times of the day and evenings. So lighting, things of that nature when you have these things, and some protective. If you're just going to open up, you don't want them getting to the borough site. You don't want them getting any entrance to that, so that's be high enough to where you have that protection. So I think about everything after 18 years, guys. Okay, but those are things I think we will work out. But I just anticipate. You learn to anticipate being on the planning commission. You just do. That's why you stay this long. I do like everything else that's done. I don't really have an issue with the project. I like the project. And I just hope that they'll sell the R6000 because there's a lot of single-family story houses that are being sold fast. If these are two-story, the price range we're going to have to watch, but I know the two-stories in where I'm at, boy, they're the last ones. Beautiful, but they're hard because it's very expensive. Single stories all sold out. Consideration when you have I have a 6,000 square foot lot, so I'm an expert. But it was, all of mine were 2 stories, but that was at a time in 2007, 2008, 2020. But other than that, I'm through, and I think we pretty much beat that point to death, and I think this is a good company. I like the houses north of there, the plan. And hopefully they'll anticipate getting started relatively soon while there's a demand for housing. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Jimenez?
I agree with Vice Chair Hammond. I think it's needed. I think one of the reasons we always get for not having more stores or more things around Ramona is house per acre, house per mile, or whatever. So I think having homes in that area is going to really give the city more power to be able to say, look, we do have the households in the area and the surrounding areas for us to have a need for more commerce. I like the landscaping. I was reading through the requirements of how many trees per lot and how many trees per certain amount of feet. And I think that staff has done a really, really good job of listening to what we have to say. I saw that they have a requirement for various altitudes and elevations and the way they're going to break up the 2-story and the 1-story. They have really good plans. So I foresee this being a very good plan. I think my lot's a little bit less than 6,000 and, it's a usable lot. It's nice. So I think, I think it's a move in the right direction.
Thank you. Going from our 10,000 to our 6,000 is a great thing. It starts in some of the right direction. One of the things that would be thought of on my platform would be if it's still R1 10,000, that it would be R 10,000 with the residence plus an additional ADU unit available for each lot to create additional density for this project, but put that aside, I think our 6,000 is successful for this project. I do agree very much that the connectivity and the bike path is going to be very beneficial for City of Paris, City of Menifee, City of Paris and City of Moreno Valley, as the connectivity between the two cities continue. I'm still wondering, here's another 90 houses, but yet no commercial center, no shopping. So I'm waiting for that to occur, to actually allow these people actually to do some shopping in City of Paris, other than Moreno Valley, for to benefit City of Paris. But I believe and I hope it would be a very successful project for you guys. I don't have any further comments.
Yeah, go ahead, you finish? I had one question I meant to ask staff. I don't know if I can just ask it now.
I'm gonna get
On the maps, on the track maps, are we talking about having parkways on the design, parkways which are not normally part of the cities, but are there parkways? Well, I'm seeing trees here and landscaping, but is that going to be considered added to this particular project?
Is that a question for staff, correct?
Staff,
When you say the parkway, you're talking about Evans Road along the frontage all the way to?
Internally, from the street, you have a parkway, you have a sidewalk, then you have the property.
So typically
The width is not.
internally the parkway still belongs to the city.
I'm just wondering, were there ones that, I'm looking at it, but I forgot to ask, are they part of the design here, a parkway?
Yeah, there is a parkway. When you say a parkway, the internal street is a smaller local roadway, which is 60 feet wide. So they would kind of follow the standard of a typical subdivision.
So Commissioner Hammond, just to elaborate a little bit more, yes, they will have a curb and it will have a parkway, so they could plant street trees, and then they'll have the sidewalk and then the property line.
You get
Okay.
detached sidewalks.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Because that's not in all of them. That's
Yeah.
kind of unusual. I like them. I'm just, the city to maintain ultimately too. That's the part. Okay.
So before we decide to make a motion, we need to add two things to the approval. One was the verbiage for the bike trail to connect to Evans, and then the first one was to add verbiage for
Was it 42, Elizabeth? The trees?
It was 42B, yes.
42B.
yeah.
It said the, not tree, not three.
I think there was also a reference by Hammond for 37J to add graffiti removal within
Yes.
48 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right, yes.
Okay.
And then add condition 46 for the connection to the,
Evans.
was it the
bike
bicycle class 2 connection?
If there's no other additions, can we get a motion for approval?
Chair Shively, if I may, I believe that Commissioner Hernandez had joined the Zoom meeting. I'm not sure if he's still there, but I do know recently he did join, so we might want to give him the option to speak
Oh.
if he's still there.
Commissioner Hernandez, do you wish to express any concerns for this project?
This is Hernandez. Yeah, so I'll probably just echo what, all my fellow commissioners said, some questions about the accessibility, some concern also about, having access, the bike lanes, which were already, talked about earlier. But other than that, I don't have nothing new to add.
Okay. So is there a question for staff that you wish to get answered?
No, I don't have any questions to add.
Okay. With that, if we can get a motion for approval?
I would move. So move.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, sir.
just to clarify, the motion is to
Add those.
approve the project to recommend to the city council as stated in the staff recommendation,
Right.
and to add the
Right.
4 amendments. Is it 4 amendments?
3.
The 3 amendments
3
so
minutes.
stated previously.
That's correct.
Correct, okay.
I just couldn't remember the numbers. I didn't.
And Hernandez and Hermitas will need a verbal full, if you wish to. We have a motion for Vice Chair Hammond. If we can have a second.
This is Hernandez. I second.
All right, we got a second from Commissioner Jimenez.
No, Hernandez.
Well, Jimenez said it first.
Oh, she said it first. Okay. How can you
I'm
tell?
quick.
Just quick, I heard it. Let's see.
Commissioner Jimenez,
What if she
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
did- Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With the vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. If we can move on to item 8A, it's a nomination for appointment for Planning Commission Chair and Vice Chair for the year.
There's not much to state other than for the planning commissioners to decide for this upcoming year who will be the chair and vice chair, and to decide if there's any change that needs to be made with the current chair and vice chair. And with that, I'll let you discuss and make a decision on how to proceed.
All right, thank you.
I only asked if you want to continue, I have no problem. It's up to you.
I'm definitely willing to continue either you're in the role of chair or vice chair. I'm
Chair.
open to both. The question is, do
Are they
either of the
willing?
other two commissioners
Mhm.
wish to put their name in the hat? And even Chair Hammond as well?
I am okay with both of you continuing your roles or alternating whatever you two feel comfortable doing.
Okay.
You've done a fantastic job, so I support you 100%.
Yes.
Appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I agree with the current status quo.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So I make the motion that Commissioner Shively, you didn't hear me? I'm sorry. Commissioner Shively continue in the role as a chairman of the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. We'll need a second.
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Vice Chair Hammond, a second from Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes. Oops. Okay.
Chair Shively.
Yes,
With a
No.
vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
thank you.
You vote for
And
yourself.
do I make a motion now to nominate Commissioner Hammond to be vice chair for the next year?
Yeah.
Sure. And I can second that.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Jimenez,
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
just to clarify, Commissioner Jimenez, just to clarify your motion is to appoint
Hammond.
Vice Chair Hammond as vice chair for the next year. For him to serve, yes, okay.
Thank you.
No.
Commissioner
you.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Gee. Yeah, yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes. Did we get Jimenez to she yay?
Oh, her
I
vote.
did.
Okay,
I said yes.
With a vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
thank you.
You know, that's the calmest we've ever had one. I mean,
I
raining
wasn't
for
sure.
weeks. Jeez.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to item 8B, nomination for appointment for 2 plant commissioners for ad hoc committee. Again, I am willing to take on the role again for this. Any other commissioner wishing to do the same, just let us know.
If
I am also open to continuing with
good.
Chair
I'm gonna
Shively.
I was going to nominate you. You didn't have a choice. So does it matter which one first, or we just do double?
Can we do both at one time?
I would suggest that you
Individual.
move to appoint one and then move to appoint the other,
Okay.
just for clarity.
Okay.
Can we have a motion for?
I start the motion to move for Commissioner Chairman Shively to be on the ad hoc committee.
I
Continue
second.
ad hoc committee. That's right. Okay.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Hammond, second from Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
The vote of 4 yes, this motion passes.
Where is
Oh.
it?
You will go
No,
ahead.
all yours. Okay, ready?
I would like to make a motion to appoint Commissioner Jimenez to the ad hoc committee for next year.
And I will second it.
Thank you. We have a motion from myself and a second from Vice Chair Hammond.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hammond,
Yes.
Chair Shively.
Yes.
With the vote of 4 yes, this motion also passes.
Thank you. Move on to item 9, public comments. Anybody wishing to speak on any manner other than what was on the agenda can do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comments and move to item 10, commissioner members' announcements and reports. Commissioner Hernandez?
Nothing to report on my part.
Thank you. Commissioner Jimenez?
Just wanted to report that, driving through the city, I see a lot of restaurants that have set up outside, and I see a lot of people supporting the local eateries, and I think that's great. I've ordered a few times for pickup. I'm not comfortable eating there yet because, I have a daughter with an immune deficiency, so we have to be a little bit more careful, but I see that. I see a lot more movement. I see a lot of safety precautions in our city, which is very appreciated. I just, had a thought come to mind because Halloween is coming up and our parades that we do at the end of the year. So just, I think those things kind of come to mind every now and then when we think about the situation that we're in. And I'm just hoping everybody continues to stay safe and hopefully soon we can get back to some kind of norm.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hammond?
And I agree with what she says. I think to keep safe with schools being online. I'm not sure. There may be some charter, other ones going physically. But the city is still going on with building and things are still happening in a positive way. There's 2 basic requests. One of them is, this is for staff, an update on some of the projects that are going on, like next to IHOP, which we have no idea what they're doing. And things of that nature. I see that the freeway, Placentia Avenue things, if we get an update, formal update, since we don't have an agenda, to a quick update if that would be possible in the future meeting to what's going on in those projects. and that would be nice. I want to say how much I appreciate staff too. Really open and stuff. I know he puts up with me. He does, John. But really been good year so far, and working with the commission. I know we don't meet often, but when we do meet, we're very thorough. Hopefully, the city council appreciates it. The other thing, and I know Kenneth is working on it. This is the Harvest Landing project, which probably gonna be things will be changed, but it's a good basic textbook for every commissioner to have, and I think Sylvia may be working on it, but you need to have this because every kind of development in terms of green space, harvesting type development, this is this book. This is what your Class A top line development is when you talk about Paris. So if you've ever been to Temecula and you've been to that one, this is basically outlined in this book because I know I worked on it, my name's in it. But it's one of those things where you've got all different kind of cutouts, the things we talked about, landscaping, walking through areas. This would be really good to have as a reference and a resource for future things. When you start looking at, when we start talking about bollards, we start talking about parks and cutouts and sitting areas, this is probably top of the line. And I don't say that off about anything in Temecula, but this is top. And I go down there occasionally to sit by the lake. But just the fact that they built around the lake alone makes it credible. And it's a homeowners association too. But I mean, and I think you're the expert, obviously, Kenneth is down there. But the idea that when you talk about top of line development, we want to move up the scale. We want to have multi-family housing. We want to have more different variety of types. And I think if we have a housing element, or at least discuss where the areas are, if we can get a map and discuss where some of those areas are, we'll point out some areas. But I think that's a trend because, like Elizabeth and I think we've talked about, you need houses, you need bodies, you need rooftops. In order to have, to support the retail, in order to support the stores and restaurants, you got to have bodies. But you need to do it in a way that's going to be walkable communities, that's going to meet the state demands, and there's a lot of them. So if you're talking about a lot of units, they've got to be done well. We don't just throw up apartment buildings or throw up condominiums, but different levels of housing for our millennial population and elderly population. I think they're finishing, and I'm cutting into Kenneth's thing, the 11th Street project is only like 19 or something apartments. And that's good, but it's not going to cut it. So you have close to 80,000 people in the city, 23,000 households. You got to have more variety. So I think those are things that we're looking at future. But this is what I suggest, and I think they can make copies of if they're willing to do that. I think you would really be, since I worked on it, and I think all the commissioners are gone, worked on it. Judy even probably has it. But I think it's one of those things that I hold up as a standard, not going to repeat everything they do, but a standard for development is one of those things that we need to raise the bar. And if we're going to raise the bar, that's raising the bar to the Temecula level. But that's it for me. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So one of the questions maybe I can get a follow-up from staff is, what are the developments, if any, that is going on in the northeast part of Paris? What's actually happening to maybe get in some commercial shopping centers up there from the development, community development that we got going on, and again, mimic what Jimenez and Hammond said. Just continue what you're doing, try to be safe, cautious of what you're touching, what you're doing, cover your mouth and all that, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, you heard it many times, but again, one more time never hurts. But now since school started, since last time we've been here, it's been fun actually to work with my daughter to help educate her sometimes. Now that everything is online, and she seems to be enjoying it much more. So it's kind of curious what will be the new norm once we get through this hurdle. But I'm looking forward to see what is going to be new as we continue to go forward after this last hurdle is jumped over. So, but continue what you guys are doing. Appreciate it very much. And again, thank you for this opportunity to be the chair again for this year. So thank you. That's all I have. So if we can go to item 11, Director and Development Services reports.
Yes, good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Just want to give you a quick update. And just to respond to your question, at the next planning commission will just give you a development update in terms of what's going on and where construction status is going. I know that we typically do that once a year. And thank you for the reminder. We'll do that at the next available meeting. Just in terms of just your comment in terms of just mixed use or just high density development, there's some traction now with the city, and we're slowly seeing just applications coming in, just asking the city to entertain some of these projects. So hopefully we'll see them and they'll follow through. So as they come aboard, we'll bring them to you, and we'll get to see some exciting projects. In regards to this bicycle path, pedestrian path, as you know, currently Evans Road is classified as a Class 2 bicycle lane. I know some of you participate in the active transportation plan. There are some plans to kind of enhance the bicycle path for a lot of the areas in the city. We can't necessarily ask them for now because it's not part of an approved plan. But we are working on it right now, and hopefully we'll take it to the Planning Commission in October to go over the active transportation plan and hopefully get it adopted by the council sometime in November or December this year. So I just want to give you an update regarding that. Lastly, I know that we've kind of discussed a lot about increasing density. As you know, the state has required cities to really provide more affordable housing, and the only way to achieve that is to provide high density. And so with that, we are hopefully going to approve a contract to a consultant to update our housing element towards the end of September. And then after that, we'll slowly create a strategy to get the commissioners' input in terms of where we could add a density. And so I just want to give you an update regarding that. We will make progress. It just sometimes takes time to get there, and we appreciate you having patience with us as we work through these steps and procedures to get to that point. And with that, I will conclude my presentation and bring it back to the chair.
Thank you. I don't have anything further, so if we can have a motion for adjournment, we appreciate it. We have a motion from Vice Chair Hammond and a second from Commissioner Jimenez. I heard it.
Yes.
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 Hernandez, is that a yes as well?
Yes.